On February 24th, 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. Putin has many times asserted his position on Ukraine that it is an anti-Russian project and a fake nation invented by the Soviet Union. This is even though Ukraine, as a separate identity, goes as far back as Cossack rebellions in 1648. Modern Ukraine broke free from the Soviet Union after its collapse in 1991 and only had its national identity bolstered following the 2014 annexation of Crimea. As Putin's rhetoric continues and the war goes into its second month, it is important to examine the effects of this invasion. The current war in Ukraine is having a devastating psychological impact not only on Ukrainian citizens and the people of that region, but people all over the world. One example of this is prosocial behavior, or having concern for someone else or a group of people. It often presents as empathy or actions with the intent to benefit others when someone sees another in a difficult situation. Video and pictures from journalists on TV and in print media show the horrors of the region and stir a strong reaction all over the world. On news channels, desperate Ukrainians are seen fleeing their country. Some stand in line for days to board subways and buses, while others walk many miles or drive their cars to escape to neighboring countries. They are seen ducking for cover as bombs go off around them. Many clutch their children as they carry their few belongings, not knowing if they will ever be able to return to their homes. Unlike most past wars, modern technology has enabled common Ukrainian citizens to use their cell phones to reach out from war-torn cities and connect with absolute strangers to share their stories. Those following the footage from afar can see the fear and uncertainty seen on the faces of those still stranded and those fleeing the country. People empathize with families separated from their loved ones and those that are unable to leave Ukraine. They also relate to both the courage and struggle of the many men and women who chose to stay behind to defend their homeland as they watch them take arms up against Russia. Individuals volunteer and want to help. Humanitarian groups send food, medical supplies, and personnel to the region to render medical care. The world's citizens also pressured their governments to send money and aid to President Zelensky to help the Ukrainian people and armed forces battle the Russians. Many Russians and those of a similar mindset in nearby regions support Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine and feel it is justifiable. This pro-social agreement comes primarily from the Russian military leaders and Russian oligarchs. Belarus and areas of the Ukrainian separatist Donetsk and Luhansk regions side with Russia and defend Putin's claims against Ukraine. In addition to pro-social behavior is the psychological factor of conditioning, where an incentive or deterrent is used to force others to conform to their wishes or ideology and elicit the response they desire from them. This was evident when Putin threatened to arrest and imprison protesters or those Russians showing opposition to his war in Ukraine. Despite the disbandment of the USSR in 1991, much of the leadership style and fear of the government remains in what is now the Russian Federation. Another example of psychological warfare in this conflict is the use of propaganda and biases. One example of this phenomenon is confirmation bias, where leaders and individuals look for sources that share their same beliefs and are willing to speak or act in favor of their side. By supporting one side of an argument or action, these sources serve to confirm the ideas of one side over another. As Russia began buildup of military forces along the border in late 2021, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky started giving frequent TV interviews and video updates on concerns and conditions in his country, and still remained in the war-torn capital Kiev even as the enemy approached. In response to his appeals, 141 of the 193 members of the United Nations voted to support Ukraine and demand that Russia stop actions against Ukraine. Many Americans, the Western world, and those in democratic or free surrounding countries side with the Ukrainian people because they have similar political, societal, and religious beliefs. They see Zelensky as a leader fighting for freedom and democracy against the aggressive invading dictator Putin. In contrast, Russian President Putin uses propaganda and speeches comparing Ukraine and its leadership to Nazis in Germany, as an attempt to sway people, especially those in democratically minded countries, to support Russia. He sent troops and supplies to Russian-controlled separatist regions of Luhansk and Donetsk in Belarus along the Ukrainian border, and declared they served a peacekeeping function. To combat the images of death and destruction coming out of Ukraine, the Russian defense minister denied any killing of innocent civilians and called any such pictures fake news.